Hi, I'm Nick Armstrong, and this is Dear Fort Collins. It's a podcast to discuss issues in and around Fort Collins, featuring experts from the city and the county and elected officials. Our goal is to help make you a more informed neighbor of Fort Collins. In particular, this series of the podcast, we are interviewing city council candidates and Poudre School District Board candidates as well. Now, I ran for city council in 2021, and I know how hard it was to connect with every single neighbor and spread the word about what my campaign stood for and why I was wanting to run. I wanted to give each of our candidates the opportunity to connect with you in a medium where you might be comfy on the couch or you might be driving in your car, but able to listen on your own time and get to know a little bit more about these candidates and why they're running and what they stand for so that you can make a more informed choice as a voter. Now, I do serve on the Parks and Rec Board for the City of Fort Collins, as well as the Box Elder Sanitation Board and my neighborhood HOA board. I'm not here in any of those capacities. I'm here as a private citizen, and my hope is that using this podcast, you can become a more informed voter and make a more informed choice when you go to the ballot. With that, let's bring in our candidate. And we're here with Emily. Emily, introduce yourself.
Great. Hi, Nick. Thank you so much for having me. My name's Emily Francis. I'm the current District 6 Council Representative and Mayor Pro Tem. I've been on City Council for the past 4 years, and I'm running for re-election. Just a little bit about me. I grew up here in Fort Collins. I went to Laurel, Lesher, and Collins. So I've been in Fort Collins for quite some time and just really love the community, and public service is one way to give back.
So, Emily, why are you passionate about the city and what made you want to run for office?
Yeah, it's a great question, Nick. I think, like I said, I grew up in Fort Collins, and, I left for a few years. I went to graduate school in Portland and lived in the Pacific Northwest for a little and returned just to be closer to family. And when I came back to Fort Collins, I just got more and more involved in the community. I used to do community organizing with mobile home park residents and teaching them about local government and how do you advocate for a better quality of life. And that just kind of turned into working with more people, and more people just didn't feel like Fort Collins was a place that they could live and raise their families and have kids and grow up here or move here and start a business. And I think that really stuck with me. And so I ran for city council in 2019 to try and change that. And so I'm running again for re-election because I think we have a lot of work to do. I think we've made great progress, but in our community space and our affordability space, climate, our transportation space, we have a lot of work to do. And I feel like continuing that on the past 4 years is important.
So to that end, do you have a specific project or issue that you'd like to tackle if you're reelected?
I think there are a lot of issues I would like to tackle. I think, affordability, with housing has been a huge one. But affordability just outside of that, how do we make it more possible for people who live here to be able to stay here? How do we make it possible for people to raise a family here, for people to age in place here is really important to me. I think that goes alongside of that is really working in our climate space, reducing our carbon emissions, so we're leaving behind a better planet for those future generations. Think about our transportation system and how do we really bolster that and make it the easy choice. But I think, the first thing that I would really want to tackle is public information and public trust. How does government better respond and better include people in decision-making processes? How do people feel more heard? How do we reflect that better in our decisions on city council? And so I really want to take a look at how has things changed for community and how do we better respond?
What makes you uniquely qualified to represent District 6?
Well, District 6 is the most diverse district in Fort Collins in terms of age, income, race, ethnicity, and housing styles, and just, across the board. And I think what makes me uniquely qualified is that I'm from Fort Collins. I have a very special and unique identity to Fort Collins. My work has really been centered in leading with equity and diversity and inclusion. And I think that's really important when it comes to representing a diverse district with so many different viewpoints. I think also because I have been on city council for the past 4 years, there is a lot that goes into, there's no class on how to be a representative or in public service. And so I do think that kind of historical knowledge is very important when you're trying to kind of take these things that we've really started and carrying them out to fruition. So I think those are all things. And I think I'm just really passionate. I'm really passionate about helping people, about supporting families, about supporting individuals here. And I think that's pretty evident by the work I've done.
Emily, who do you consider a role model in the realm of public service, and what have you learned from them?
Oh, that's a great question. I've had such luck and like opportunity to serve with some really great leaders. When I first got elected to city council, Kristin was also on city council at the time, and she was just such a mentor towards me, and really learning how to be on council and navigating that and a support system. And so I would say Kristin has been one. Serving with the mayor, Jeni Arndt, has been really helpful. Just how to think about issues and how to approach things differently. Both of them have just such different leadership styles than I do. And so I think that is always helpful. But I would say, people outside of public service, I've learned the most from. Just regular residents living in Fort Collins, they have the most insight. They have the most passion about Fort Collins, and just learning from them about what's important and what they want to see in a leader and what resonates with them is the best learning experience.
If you could have any superpower to help your community, what would it be and why?
The power of empathy, I think, is what I would give people. The power to hear each other in a way that we truly understand where each other is coming from. I just feel like empathy and understanding can lead to such a better community. And I think it's really hard to do all the time. And so I think giving the power of empathy and being able to understand why your neighbor behaves the way they do, or why things are different, or why people have different viewpoints, is then you can really get to how do we make decisions based on values. And I think when you make decisions based on values, and when that comes from a place of we have these shared values, that's when you get the best outcomes for your community.
What's one piece of advice that you received and you didn't take, but you wish that you had?
When I told my mom I was going to run for city council originally, she said, "Emily, why would you do this? You're young. This is so much time, and so much, not only time in a meeting, but the mental capacity and the mental load." And she said, "You're so young. Why would you waste your youth doing this?" And it takes an exorbitant amount of time, amount of emotional energy, but I don't regret it for 1 second. I just feel like this is the most valuable thing that I've had the opportunity to do, and being able to give back to the community in such a way, and being able to be a representative that people can see themselves in. I just think is so important. I've had young women call and just say "Thank you for being up there. It makes me feel like I can do these things." And representation just matters so much. So I didn't take her advice, but I don't wish I had, because I do just think it's not a waste of time at all, not a waste of youth. It's just so important to me.
Emily, where can we learn more about your campaign? Is there anything else that you want to tell someone listening to this podcast?
You can learn more about my campaign at Emily4FC, and it's EMILYFORFC.com. I would just say that I am always available. So if you want to email or call me, my personal number is on my website. Call me anytime. I'm always happy to talk with folks and learn more from them. And I just encourage everyone to vote. Municipal elections have the most impact on your day-to-day life, and it's important decisions. And so I would encourage everyone to get out there and vote.
Thanks for listening, and I hope you're enjoying this series of learning more about your city council candidates. It's so important to get out there and vote, and do so from a place of comfort, knowing that you're voting for who you chose and why you chose them. I'm Nick Armstrong, and I can't wait to see you next time.